Today on the Esports Meta.
I'll be honest, man, I don't think anything pisses me off more than someone like just booing my ass.
I guess it's a very exclusive club.
Real thoughts or like
That's a great point to make.
100 Thieves. Come on now.
Come on now.
Just come on now.
Welcome to the Esports Meta. I'm your host, Billy Sims. We've got a lot to talk about in competitive video games and video game news from the past week. We're going to be going over the grand finale of the Race to World First today. We're also going to be talking about Pokémon Pocket. They soft launched rather quickly, rather suddenly, a little earlier than people had expected, and we'll be discussing some of the other happenings this week. So stick around and stay tuned for that. There's a lot to discuss, a lot to go over. A lot of hodgepodge news and tactics and stuff this week. If you do like what you see and like what you're enjoying, you can join us here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We go live, roughly 7 p.m. I think we're a little bit after, but you know, we're here. We're ready to go. All right. You can check us out on Twitch and YouTube Live, as well as any of the other places you find social media and podcasts for your enjoyment. But you know, overall, there's a lot to get to, so I'm going to keep this short, keep it simple, and thanks for joining us. We look forward to talking to you. Let us know if you want to jump in and let us know your discussions and points too. I'm going to need to know some other people, so let me try that again. I've got a friend. I'm bringing him on camera. His name is Nick. Nick, how you doing today?
Pretty good, man. I didn't realize we were going to match today. I didn't realize we were wearing the same colors.
Both rocking the red shirts. I got a little bit of Full Metal Alchemist anime representation over here.
I'm just wearing a Nike sweatshirt.
Just do it, man. Just do it. Unless they're going to sue us for that. But anyway, Nick, it's been a whole hell of a week full of video games and esports stuff happening. Is there something specific that you were excited about this past weekend, watching, etc.? Or how are you doing watching video games this week?
Yeah, it's a lot this week. Watching the Race to World First was exciting. Watching the play-in stages for Worlds was we'll say disappointing for some people, for some fans for sure, me included. Right.
League of Legends has a habit sometimes of being disappointing to fans, much like other sports, but it's still something that brings you in, still gets you going, still love to watch it. But you know, take the good with the bad on that. I was kind of the same, man. It was a little bit all over. We're in this like nice pocket of esports and video games where we're getting a lot of pre-holiday news and releases about games. We're getting a lot of competition tournaments occurring at the same time. So it's really been, like you said, a lot going on and a lot to, you know, keep track of overall. You know, if you're ready for it, I don't know if you kind of heard, we're going to get right into some of our stories here. I just want to make sure we're all set to go. Yep, camera's good, lights are good. Great. So we're going to start off our first topic today, and we're going to keep it light. Later on, we're going to be talking about the Race to World First, going over updates of the grand finale, who won, the strategy used, the DPS race meters, what's going on there, who's, you know, clearly the best DPS and who's not, as well as we're going to be going over Pokemon Pocket as well and League of Legends pick'ems. But let's start off with a bit of a fun subject matter, and that's going to be Super Mario Party Jamboree. Some might call this fun, some might call this torment. I might be part of the latter. But Nick, this week they announced a new Super Mario Party game, which, you know, I know we love and we also hate because it's a competitive game, but then it's also not a competitive game at the same time.
I'll be honest, man, I don't think anything pisses me off more than someone like just booing my ass. Like, for real. Like, I don't think there's one thing in video game history that actually gets me more pissed than when, like, I'm not even ahead. I'm second or third place, and instead of stealing from first place, someone steals from me. That shit lights a fire underneath my ass, dude. That, like, that's me off.
You're absolutely right. The behavioral, the social experiment that Mario Party tends to do, because you're playing politics every round and you got to stay likable. You got to stay off the threat meter. But sometimes, man, the shit just hits the fan for you and you just go down. Like that's all it is. And like, that's the chaotic fun part about this game. But man, I don't know. It's so much fun. It's so blast. And this game looks really solid. They are bringing a couple new gimmicks per se, new tactics, new mechanics to this game, but it's generally going to be the same old Mario Party you love. You're right, man. You could be in first place and like get hit with the blue shell. You could be in third place and somehow somebody blue shells you. It just is what it is when it comes to Mario Party. And I think that's an overall philosophy. And we talked about that Nintendo has when it comes to party games or competitive games. They want to make it accessible to everybody, which means everybody's tripping over banana peels.
Yeah. And to the last moment, everybody's got a shot is the way that these games are made. And like that sucks cheese sometimes, you know, like, you know what I mean? But hey.
Yeah, man. If you're the hardest working person in the game, like not just by luck, you know, because sometimes when you're lucky, you kind of feel like you're doing so good and you're really skilled. But, you know, even when you're the hardest working person in the game, you can just get like messed over, pushed over on this. But I have to say, coming up, they're going to be showing a couple multiplayer games, which is the best part of these games, hands down. I'm not even going to like just like chill on this completely because, you know, Mario Party is Mario Party. It's always going to be this fun, chaotic game. And like you said, until the last second, anybody has a chance to win. But these mini games, that's where it's at. That's where I find most of my fun, cooperatively, competitively, and they're bringing the power on this one because they're really diversifying, and I believe they're actually going to be incorporating some WarioWare mini games in this style of this version. Which, and Nick, I know you're a fan of WarioWare as well.
Yeah, no, WarioWare is cool, dude. But like, at least you're gonna be at home this time. Like, you're not gonna look goofy as hell, just like out in public, just blowing on a 3DS or anything.
Trying to get internet connection, if I could speak correctly.
Like some of the mini games, like they just need to. I know that they don't want to do it because, you know, for whatever reason, but Mario Party is probably the only game of theirs that they really should have as a mobile game.
That's an interesting, you know, kind of observation. Maybe it's something they should get on.
Shit out of that.
Right, like, and it could be something that you play anywhere. And kind of competitively to a party game. Do a little bit of a Jackbox style, perhaps, where your cell phone can connect to the server and then direct it. Right there, a second ago, we saw some cooperative games where you had to work together to like make the game win. Here's some rhythm-based games, similar sort of style, work together. And then I believe we're coming up here, some WarioWare style games here, right? So you don't just look goofy on the DS anymore, out and about. You look goofy with the Switch Joy-Cons dancing in your room.
Just dance. No WarioWare. Just dance.
Right. And this is, I think, the final mode where it's like just complete mini games where you have to run laps, and based on how many mini games you win or how well you do in the mini games means how fast you go in that lap running race marathon aspect, which they're kind of talking about here. More or less, it's what you would expect Mario Party to be. It's something I'm going to probably consider picking up as a party game. Bring it to parties, bring it out. But I think you're right. The biggest takeaway would be getting it on mobile. That'd be really neat for Nintendo to do. A lot better than like a Mario Run.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Run is like pretty cool. But it's like, it's awesome for like my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old. Like, they love it. It's super easy, just putting the button. Like, my one kid, like Joey nails it. So the older one nails it. The younger one's having fun with it still. So, you know, just a little bit more complicated game. But this would be for like adults, you know, like it can be for kids, but like adults spend a good amount of money doing gacha games and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I play a Mario gacha game too. Like, it's just...
Especially out of Japan, they do it right. The gacha is pretty solid over there. They have the whole culture around it, and for it, you know, lots going on here. This is a quick announcement for the release. It's coming out in just 2 weeks, I believe, October 17th. And I guess a benefit and like maybe a curse, Nintendo Online. I've had my opinions about it in the past. It can be a little bit frustrating, but this is including 3 months to try to get people in. You know, overall, not too shabby. Definitely a game I'm going to be looking forward to. Nick, any thoughts about this, or do you have anything specific to look at before we move on in this quick little topic?
The only people I'm going to play with this would be people I already don't like. So like, it's going to be fun.
Right. Guaranteed that you're not going to ruin any new friendships. You're just going to continually to ruin the old ones.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It gives you a 3-month membership for just buying it for Switch Online. That's actually pretty solid.
That's the likes of Xbox Live used to do back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look at these guys.
Right. But I wonder too, and this might be the big asterisk where you might need Mario Party to play. Oh, sorry. Nintendo Online to play Mario Party. But
nah, dude, this is Nintendo's like, buy this, return this to GameStop. They let you return open games. You should buy like 17 of these, everybody. You just get your Switch Switch membership for like the next like 10 years. No, go ahead and do it. Be malicious towards Nintendo.
You know, it's something that might generally work, but it's not something we are advocating. My lawyers are saying that that's something that we are not specifically advocating, but it could possibly work.
Dude, that's within the rules. Let's go. I'm going to go do it right now.
Yeah, let's go buy 10 copies on October 17th, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. But right now, we're actually going to be going into another announcement from another game this week. Another light topic, small. We're going to get to the bigger topics a little bit later. Race the World First updates coming up in just a few moments. League of Legends pick'ems happening a little bit later. And Pokemon Pocket. You know, speaking about something that, you know, not a lot of people did or didn't do or did do. The VPN and moving to New Zealand. That game soft launched and there's been some people playing with that. We'll tell you what's been going on with that in just a little bit. But for right now, we're going to head into Marvel Rivals. They're not expected to have their game released until December 6th. There's still a little bit of hype, but it's kind of simmered down a little bit because nobody's had hands on the game. Gamescom was able to show us some cool things. We got to see some gameplay trailers of new heroes and maps. They got to finalize the beta with some updates and kind of tell you what to expect with Battle Pass. But this week, we've got some news with a video highlight or announcement reveal trailer of another new character here, Psylocke. My first take of this was not really super impressive. She seems like a backline assassin, a duelist, but you know, Nick, let's see what your thoughts are, and everybody out there, take a watch, take a listen, see what you think.
Psylocke's sword remains sharp. Step aside. Out of sight.
So for our audio listeners out there, I'm going to rewind this real quick and just play the video back. But Psylocke seems to have more of a traditional Japanese or historic Japanese look. I believe samurai era, kind of. She's got the butterfly wings from the Psychic sort of comic series and that dashing around on the map, just a quick like push dash. But then it also seems that she's able to cloak herself into visibility. Not sure how long duration, etc. And then the final little cutscene that we're just watching right now is she dashes around a group of enemies, basically Genji dashing between them, doing damage. It's not one hit kills specifically, but it is a big chunk of damage. We're talking like 40% of HP, and then dashing back to the 4 enemies a second time to finish them off. Again, finishing out that they're expecting to release this game on December 6th. A little interesting that they're hyping with Psylocke with no hands on, and then they're promoting her as a duelist. Nick, with the footage that we just saw, the things I was just kind of explaining, what is your vibe? What's your thoughts on this character and what to expect in the game?
Real thoughts or like, we'll say not censored, but reserved. We'll say reserved thoughts or real thoughts.
Let's do the live podcast thoughts, and then we might dive a little deeper on this.
That didn't answer my question at all. Just so we're clear.
Censored live podcast thoughts for first.
The character's uninspired, right? It looks like Marvel worked with like 18 different psychologists just to see like what skin would get cosplayed the most for the next 3 months. for events that are going on. That's going to be a heavily cosplayed character, just in general. The moves do not look good. It literally looks like the only way that the character is going to be worthwhile is if the character is overpowered because of how like not good or cool or unique the kit is. Also, like using a sword, that's cool. Like she uses a sword, but also like that's not really like not really 100% Psylocke, right? Like she doesn't just use a sword. She wasn't born with a sword,
right.
bro.
That's like, also the curious thing about this reveal trailer, just like what you're saying, like the only demonstration of like, I guess, combat is her, I would assume her ultimate, because it's her dashing around 4 robots with the butterfly wings, basically like slashing them up. It doesn't look like it's controlled. It looks like it's kind of auto dash between them, but then there's no like primary fire, secondary fire. So I'm curious to what that might be. Does she have a projectile? Is she all like melee range kind of assassin backline duelist mentality?
It's giving me like Tenshu vibes, you know what I mean? Like Shinobi vibe.
Yeah.
But like with like the running on the buildings and stuff like that, with the stealth and everything like that, it's, you know, sure, even with the butterflies and stuff like that. But I swear to God, dude, this is like, this company's out to get your money super easy, bro. They got the butterfly wings on and everything. This is going to be a heavily cosplayed character. And to like think otherwise, that like that wasn't in like their thoughts when they were doing it, is like wild. It's too basic of a champion.
Like, it does feel really basic, but I think it's the trailer. They're going for vibes on this. I'm not trying to give them benefit of the doubt because they should be demonstrating the primary fire, perhaps maybe combat in play, but maybe also because she was really like being announced after beta, they're not really have any genuine combat. I don't know, man. It just feels bad in that way. I agree. It does fit the lore of overall Marvel Psylocke, maybe a little bit specific to that. Props to the character model not being a midriff, just giant hulking person. It's like a, you know, in this case, you see shoulder, which is a lot different vibe than what we saw the other like women characters in the game. But this, you know, I know we talked about and criticized how the rest of the characters all seem to have the same model, just kind of costumed differently. This one is a little bit different, so a little bit more props to that, but then is it lacking in the mechanic aspect? Do they not have a finished kit? That's why they're not showing exactly, you know.
The color of duelist is weird too.
Interesting like, thought, especially when they're not like showcasing the entire kit. They're just showing like
we've played games before, bro. You know, she has like she's gonna have low health pool, right? She's going to dive back line. She's going to have low health pool. She has invisibility, right? But like what else helps her survive to duel something, right? Does she have like a counter or a parry or something like that? But there's nothing there to make her like say that she's a duelist besides the fact that she has a sword.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So is she just an assassin? Is she just like a backline pouncer kind of thing? She is on the roofs here, so we can like ultra conspiracy that she has wall climb and she can go up top. She has that dash right there, this one here. So she's going to be more inclined to close the gap, but maybe that's her escape. But like, it doesn't feel like it's much of an escape if she needs to get into melee range to produce any sort of results. And her ultimate definitely is a melee. I'm assuming that's the ultimate, and that's definitely a melee situation. So the kit is a little bit weird. It feels a little undercooked, perhaps. Primary fire, secondary fire, if there's any involved. She is being touted as a duelist, like you said, so more of a DPS minded character. Any final takeaways on this, Nick? Because like, yeah, man, it feels a little tough. Because we can start even going into that stealth aspect. How long is the stealth for? Is it a permanent stealth? Is it not? And that's going to just like aggravate and frustrate people because people hate rogues. People hate Sombra. Is this going to be her entire kit and her entire personality being able to go invisible? Is she going to be able to do that in combat? Man, what do you think? How do you think this is going to play out?
I'm already cracking up laughing, man, because I already no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, man.
Well, then we're going to take a look at this December 6th, see how the new character plays out. We do have Captain America as well as Winter Soldier being released on launch day, December 6th. they're also apparently releasing Psylocke with this. But last thing I want to note on the way out from this, excuse the little YouTube suggestion on the side, but they teasing Moon Knight up here a little bit as well. What I believe is Moon Knight. Your thoughts, Nick? Is it Moon Knight?
Is it Noon Knight?
I'm sorry, is it Moon Knight?
Yeah, that's 100% Moon Knight.
100%.
That's the way his cape. That's the way his cape goes when he jumps around like Batman, like a schizophrenic Batman with no money.
I'm sure one of the personalities has some money, but yeah, and it's pretty obvious with the moon behind them, etc. I just wanted to point this one out, get a second opinion on that, so I didn't feel like I was also with multiple personalities, a bit crazy.
I mean, like also, here's a crazy shot in the dark right here. This could be like the weirdest drop on Shumagorath. Just a huge eyeball. That's crazy as fuck. Just a huge eyeball, and it's like that's not even Moon Knight, jackass. Like that's Shumagorath. We gotcha. I would, dude, hats off to them if they did that. But I hope it's Shumagorath. It's definitely Moon Knight.
Definitely Moon Knight. And I think Shimagora would be a little bit too much tinfoil hat conspiracy theory on us for that. But, that's all we have for Marvel's Rivals right now. A little bit of an update. Expect that game coming out December 6th, just in time for the holiday season. Free to play on a couple different platforms. We'll have more updates as we hear them. Let us know your thoughts. Are you excited about Marvel Rivals? Are you excited about Moon Knight? Potentially. Psylocke, how does she look? How does her kit look? Do you feel like it's a little bit disappointing like we do? Tell us your thoughts. Hit us up at our social media, which is at the Esports Meta. Otherwise, you can chime in right here into comments. And we'll be listening, we'll be watching. We want to know what you guys thoughts are. We are gamers just like you. So we want to know those gamer opinions.
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show.
Moving on, beyond that, we're going to head into our next topic and subject matter, which actually is another bit of a news update specifically to Dota. Valve had just released a new gameplay patch and matchmaking feature on recently, just about Dota and Dota Plus members. Excuse me. Talking about overall the idea of pre-match analysis. I want to bring us to the article. It's a bit of an older article, but I want to just scroll us down and then give us thoughts. All right. So generally with today's update, we've removed the start of the match ban phase and replaced it with ban that, and then that's the initial part. But then here we go. This actual specifics. Pre-match, Dota Plus pre-match matchmaker analytics. A bit of a word soup mumbo jumbo, but this is a beta test. They are testing and figuring out a feature that might potentially be something amazing for any sort of PvP game, player versus player game, competitive or non-competitive. Heck, we could use this in Mario Party ahead of time, but just to give you a quick rundown of what it is, what it does is when you queue up for the game, it's going to put you in the time into the lobbies, etc. Before it gets you into the lobby, it's going to give you a pop-up saying, hey, we've found a game for you. Here's the gist of what's going on. Here's what, other players, their what's it called? Their behavior is. So the quick image here, here's the region you're going to be playing in. Here's the ping. Here's the skill rating and range. And then here's your behavior of the players. It'll give you an overall match quality and a skill balance. Overall, initially, this feels pretty solid. I want to know what it's been like in practice, but generally speaking, this is a way for players to have some agency and feel to decide if they want to join a game. Once you get this screen, this pop-up, if you don't like what you see, you hit Q again in the bottom there, and you end up going back and waiting for another match in the matchmaking lobby queue. Nick, we are looking at this beta feature, and overall, I've got vibes that this could be essential for a game like Overwatch or League of Legends, at the very least, the competitive side of things. How is your first impressions of this looking, and why is this a good or bad thing? You might be muted, my man.
I did mute myself because I was coughing because I'm sick. So I like the second part. I think that like
second part meaning what?
The second part of this, like after you queue into the thing, it'll tell you about like the people you're playing with.
Gotcha. Okay.
This part basically like, I don't know, like this part I think is like, I think is kind of silly, and only for the fact that like look at it. If you were to say like all players' skill range is like moderate, like are you just gonna queue again to get someone who's like great? Is great like one of the options, right? Like what's the range? You want green, right? You want green and everything. And so like right there, like the behavior one is like, I don't know if Dota does it, but I do know that in League of Legends, like if you act like that, if you act a certain way, you're gonna meet the certain way. So like if you act stupid and start mouthing off, like eventually you're gonna end up in a queue with a bunch of players who are definitely flagged for like for this stuff. So.
And one would argue rightfully so, or, you know, maybe not. I don't deserve to be in here for doing something one time. But
I like people like, cause without harsh punishments after you accept it, I think a feature like this is kind of stupid. So like if they get into if they accept the queue, if they accept the game, but then dodge after they get into the thing for whatever reason, there could be multiple different reasons, right?
Okay,
I don't know how
I understand what you're saying. So at this point, when you accept it, you go into the game, and what you're saying is that they leave the game.
Yeah, like if you leave it during champ select, like I don't know if you have the ability to leave during champ select, like if you're just gonna get, you know, picked whatever champion or something like that. But usually in like League, it just like, you know, you dropped, everybody else goes back in the queue. And you can queue up immediately if you don't do it a lot, or you have to wait a little bit if you do it a lot. You lost some like LP from doing it, like some gains, but you lost like, you know, 7 or something like that instead of like losing the game.
Here, it's like, if you're not feeling the information that you see on the screen right now, the pre-game analysis here, you'd hit Q again and you just wait in line until the next pre-game analysis popped up.
That's what I was saying. This screen.
Yeah. If you hit accept, you go into the game. And I think this system should provide another like wall where it's like, okay, if you accept the game and then you leave that game in champ select or whatever for, you know, bad faith reasons, not disconnecting, not coming back, etc. They should be, I think they would ideally be able to give you a harsher punishment for that, because it becomes more obvious you're trying to scam the system. You're trying to act in sort of malicious or malfeasant way, right?
Sure, but like, so, I mean, like yes and no, right? Because like what I'm thinking about, right, is like all the information that this does tell you on this immediate screen right here, it can be heavily skewed based on certain factors. And what I mean by that is like, if they are a one trick and are just starting to learn like other champions, and legitimately there are just like one tricks out there that stuck on a lot of champions just in general. Dota has a ton of champions. So like, if I'm not playing out, like, is this like the past 30 days? Right? Like, is this like a, just like an aggregate of just like your last 30 days performances, and you know you'll be ranked on that, but we know poor, moderate, good, whatever their skill range might be. I think dictating the skill range thing can be heavily manipulated by outside factors, certain champions, blah blah blah. And I think in the next screen where you find out like, you know, this person mostly plays this thing, and like I don't know, like immediately I'm like.
I don't disagree that the information might be misleading, and that might be the aggregate that's like a little bit more deceptive. But like that's also where it's like, my Uber driver rating, I get a 4 or 5, and like, it puts weight into it. And once you put weight into it, people are going to manipulate it or try to sell it or exploit it. The skill range, though, I think you might be overthinking that specifically, where it's like you have an MMR already, you have an SR already. There's a range that the matchmakers are naturally putting you anyway. If it's a highly difficult game where you have like a grandmaster and you're only in plat, like that should probably be like
this is what I'm saying though, is like if you play on certain characters, like because you picked them for like the matchup, like and you just suck at it, you could like you're boosted as hell. Like it legitimately you're boosted as hell. But if you play on like one of the 4 champions that you play in, but like also another point for the behavior part is like things are just coming to me like as we're like doing this now.
As we're talking about it.
Basically in League of Legends, if you don't type, you could do whatever the hell you want. Like for the most part, if you don't die and you don't type, you could without a human review, you could do whatever you want. You could ruin games left and right by just not typing. Just not typing and just doing whatever you want and just like, going to kill your minions, going back to your tower. Your behavior.
You're saying as far as like player behavior is concerned.
As far as player behavior is concerned, like Boy has Boy has a crying video, like where he literally cried and pleaded to Riot about like this happening in high MMR where people can legitimately ruin your game, but as long as they don't type, they don't get reported. Like they get passed by on the system. So like, and pros have spoken out about it before. It's not like an uncommon thing.
But what you're saying is that Riot's not responding to that, but players are still reporting.
I'm wondering if the same thing happens in Dota. I don't play Dota like that, right? But if like I want to know how your behavior is like. For a second, because I just the point that you're making, like league player will not talk and then they could do whatever in a match, and if they honestly are doing something that's bad and like they don't know it, they're throwing, but they don't know they're throwing. What you're saying is that other players are not reporting them. Because my understanding of what you're saying is that the other players are reporting them, but then Riot isn't justifying those reports. That's what without a human review, you cannot detect these people for being like toxic players. This is a definite thing. And so like,
and then human reviews take a lot of hours and time and energy and effort. And speaking arbitrarily from afar, league players don't have a great, reputation in how they report in general.
I mean, anytime that there's a report system, I think that there's good and bad actors,
Absolutely. But like the scale of that, the reputation of games also plays a factor in this. So, getting back to like the core of this though, like, does this happen in Dota? Does that, is a good question with this, but like this is also then a system that potentially gives more agency to a player going in, maybe gives a little bit more transparency so they don't feel like they're playing against a Smurf or they have, people who are just throwing. Because the one thing you brought up was about SR. And when you have a game of 160 champions, I'm not sure how many Dota has, but like when you have games that are like a ton of champions like that, are you advocating that each champion has their own MMR SSR? Are you advocating that each role has their own MMR SSR? Or is it like a blanket one? Because I do believe, right, like currently it's just like a blanket MMR SSR for both of those games.
For League, you have like a ranked one and you have a regular one for like your blind and everything like that.
Right, but it's not that when I play a support character or bottom lane, I get a specific SSR, right? I get an SSR for winning or losing every game, no matter what champion.
Yes.
Yeah. That's also like a thing to bring up because, like, then is the solution because of one tricks in a game where you have 160 characters, then having SR or MMR in the individual aspect of that, or what do you think? Because there's always going to be skill range. There's always going to be learning curves.
Yeah, I mean, like So like that's also the thing, right? Like like you bring up the point with like a one trick, is their skill range gonna just be higher because they only play their one trick, right? And then they're gonna be matched higher against a team of people who are just actually skilled better, like more highly skilled. I don't know. Like on the surface, this part doesn't seem very good, but if it gave you the other part, which like people already use, like there's already API to let you know all of this information. Like this is like one of the issues that like League had, where like you can literally just like look up your team and then you dodge because you're like, you know what, not happening. Right. This person's on a losing streak or whatever, right? We were just talking information.
Sorry, we were just talking about the ready go check go system that they're implementing for that dodging, and then ideally harsher penalties for players who still continue bad behavior. But please continue.
Yeah, damn it. I had 30 seconds without coughing, bro, and you ruined it. You cut me off. Piece of shit, man.
Gotta get some tea and honey, man.
I just think like this is like a cool situation, but I do feel that it's not that it's
not fully cooked, not fully baked.
Not even that, it's not even like fully cooked or fully baked. It just doesn't. It's not the information that you really need. Like going to the thing, like I don't think I would decline a game with moderate skill. Like basically, I would just say if anything's red, I'm gonna queue again. Right.
But in that same way, the matchmaker's job is not to give you any games that are red. The matchmaker jobs in the background is supposed to be giving you green. When it gets to too long of a time frame of waiting, that's when the parameters start getting expanded, and that's when you're going to go into the yellow and the red. So that's also where the choice comes in here for the player, rather than being, you know, I guess, slave to the computer algorithm deciding for you.
I don't see any, like, so based on that, like, as I said, like, I don't think there's any reason for me to decline. Right? Like if it would just say like moderate and moderate, isn't that average? Right? For like the rank that you're at. Like, so just like if you perform, you should be able to just help the team win in a sense. So like this just seems like click accept again, or, you know, if you get like, I think like, so in League you have roles and stuff like that, right? So I would say like if you got auto-filled, maybe you get the queue again or something like that. I don't know. I don't see too much point for this. Just like the secondary information of like, are they on a losing streak? Have they lost the last 3 matches, right? Are they on a winning streak? They've won the last 3 games, is way more important than telling me like they have great behavior instead of moderate. Like,
but in that way too, like all you're doing is you're looking for somebody. I don't even know if you can trust that information, because they could have been carried in the last 3 games by the randoms that were on their team as well, right? They could have gotten lucky. They could have gotten unlucky. And that's the whole idea of like matchmaking, like, you know, especially when people talk about like an elo hell, how you just go into like a bad streak of things. I think the player behavior part is probably the most important, because it's going to tell you the people who have a history of just being toxic and throwing a hissy fit even. And, you know, I don't want to be around that. I mean, ideally, yeah, but like, ideally, yes, but, you know, like you're kind of saying on the other side of stuff with League, it doesn't happen, you know, especially if they're not talking. Like, so like, you know, there's the behavior aspect of it, I guess, in the gameplay, like behavior aspect of it and socially between players. And I think this might be the most important part. Like, you know, you're choosing which room you want to go into, and like this one can show you, but like it is giving you an overall average, not in each person individual situation, which I guess is probably, you know, what you need, because the anonymity is better. People are going to get targeted. People are going to get lashed out about, etc. It is an interesting system, an interesting possible solve to queue dodging, or like, I guess, bad behavior and whatnot. But any final thoughts with that, Nick? What you know, final takeaways?
I mean, like, again, I don't know too much about Dota, but there are other metrics in the game that I think people should give to players rather than like this one. Like it's not a bad step in the right like direction or anything like that, but there are just other metrics in League that that people would probably appreciate more. Like I would appreciate knowing how many times you die by 10 minutes. Just in general. Like what's the average of my team on the deaths by 10? Like that would tell me to queue queue up again immediately. I would hit queue up again. If it's like 4, if it's 4 by 10 minutes, I'd be hitting that queue up button real quick. Those are like stats where you don't want to get near those players because they're like real frustrating. Like that would be the stats that you want to like use in order to like cultivate which players get to play together. Cause like I'm not like basically this is kind of trying to bring like-minded people together with like-minded people, right? Like this is a good way to make friends. Like if you both queue up and you're like, great.
I kind of disagree because I think it kind of then creates the caste system. You're basically just going to try to weed out players based on your superficial belief, be it right or wrong, as far as if it's good, you know, they're a good player or not. You know, if you're dying 4 times in 10 minutes, that's pretty bad. And that's going to show you that. So that's going to incentivize you to just hit Q again a lot more. And then that's basically going to create this like weird separation of like good players and bad players, perhaps, at its best sort of like operation. But it then feels like a caste system where it's like, yeah, this arbitrary decision. This might not be exactly the same, but I know it's an example that we might both closely relate to. How after Wrath of the Lich King and WoW.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring it up, dude. I was already in my head. I already knew you were going to bring it up. Yeah, exactly that. Not to that extent, but you are correct. We do need it. And what he's talking about is just like an MMR rating for like dungeons and stuff, your gear score, stuff like this in World of Warcraft that basically just gets you kicked or removed from parties. Right? It's not based on skill. It's based on an artificial thing, right? But again, unfortunately, you have direct impact on the numbers that we're talking about your player stats, right? So it's not like, you know, how much damage you take from like AoE effects, all right, stuff like that. That's not what they're gauging in World of Warcraft. They're gauging how many times you completed something. What's your rank in this? Have you gotten Gladiator? Stuff like that. So like fresh players can't play that.
Like, right, but that at best, of course. But I'll try to go into like a normal raid and they're going to ask for the achievement. And it's only been out like a week, right? The new expansion just happened. And like, it was crazy how people were asking for like 620 eye level when the Race the World First people had 619 eye level. It's kind of impossible things just because they want to be like loot queens, loot princesses sitting in the back, not doing any work, having the achievement, but you can buy the achievement easily, pay gold and just have somebody carry you to those things. So like, I do think, yeah, like as far as WoW is concerned, the eye level shows how much gear you have. It shows the capacity for your ability, but it doesn't show how well you can hit the buttons, of course. Achievements don't really show that. Getting into like, you need, I have a friend who's been a multi-glad for Arena in WoW. And he's in like a gladiator discord where you have to have 10 gladiator achievements to be a part of that discord. And that's a way for them to find people who are in the same echelon of skill. And like, I don't necessarily disagree with that part, but that's also creating that caste system. And like for a general population, not like a 10-time gladiator population, that feels bad. And like, even like a player behavior sort of aspect, that might be the only way where it's like, okay, here's karma. You're a dick in the game. You keep treating people like shit, and rather than help them learn, you know, because you are the same MMR as them, because you are in this game with them, you know, regardless. And so like, it's this weird situation with these stats. And I kind of, you know, ultimately I'm basically saying I disagree with showing more or different stats. They might want to be very exclusive about what stats you are showing about these other players and et cetera, because I think player social cultural behavior can quickly evolve into something pretty toxic.
I mean, they already do it. Like the toxic people are toxic. Okay,
Yeah.
like there isn't like I don't know, like I don't know how much I have to stress this. It's like toxic people are toxic people. It doesn't matter what game they go into. Just because like they put on their league pants doesn't mean that they're like time to fucking let loose. Like that's not the way that it works. I get so like these people do get weeded out just in general, right? But also the biggest thing that I've thought in my head, what, that they get weeded out? Like if you're vocal, if you are vocal, you get booted the fuck out. It's very easy to detect you when you're vocal. That's what I'm saying. If you don't type and you say things like, if you call people like, hey, ghosty, relax, bro. Like, go buy ropes. Like if you say shit like that, it's like basically like humans need to like go, all right, we need to look out for these things kind of thing, right? But the thing that you really like popped into my head with like buying Gladiator and stuff like that, right? Is you could buy Dota accounts, you could buy League accounts, bro. Basically, you just added another stat that pads their income. My skill range is good. My skill range is great. My behavior is great. Buy this account, 150 beans.
Yeah, but at the very least here, it actually incentivizes like behavior, because otherwise I don't think behavior is really like punished or celebrated.
In League
that's something with,
and I don't know about Dota, but it's definitely in League. It is. That's
something like in Overwatch, like the skill rating feels pretty lame duck overall.
So like in League real quick, in order to like there's an honor system, right? And basically act like a jackass. You're not part of the honor system. You can, after a while, you can join and get your honor back and everything like that. You don't get free loot boxes. So like the free loot boxes, when you play a champion, anybody on your team gets an S ranking on any champion in the game, whatever, like you get a box for your specific champion. It doesn't mean that the loot inside is for that champion. Just means that like you get one box per champion per season, right? And so usually like that incentivizes people to play more, but you don't get any of the free stuff. You don't get you don't get keys, you don't get free boxes, you don't get your level up rewards, you don't get anything if you're not in the honor system. Granted, it doesn't mean that it's
cosmetic. It's cosmetic as well. So it's like
you don't get your skins.
Yeah.
And like I get a lot of skins just in general. And like, I say if you're not typing, you're not really playing. So like you're either playing games or you're playing the game when you're not typing.
Well, that's fair. And like, it'll be interesting to see how this continues, because I do think this gives a little bit of agency. Valve's been kind of on an interesting track when it comes to managing cheaters, managing misbehavior. I don't have the clip, but just to kind of finish us off with this little anecdote, I'd seen that recently with Deadlock, they started seeing a lot more cheaters. And what happens is when it's a confirmed cheater, the system sends out a message to all the other players where they basically get to vote. Either they turn the cheater into a frog and finish the game, or they end the game right then and right there. And that way too, Nick, I know we're always going to have cheaters. We're always going to have people chasing that lucrative aspect. They're not going to care about cosmetics. They're not going to care about their perceived behavior. They're going to try to just like psychopath to the end. I win at all means, at all costs. I'm better than you. Pub stomp kind of things. But like, I do feel, and I think, let me know your thoughts on this frog situation for the cheaters. I do feel like Valve has a good mindset when it comes to the approach of systems, or just kind of like curbing that stuff. And I do think that this pre-game analytics is a step in the right direction to help that. But, with that frog and the cheater thing, you have any specific takeaways or any other last
the frog
points?
And the cheater thing is like, that's pretty hilarious. It does suck that one of your games like gets ruined by like a cheater, just in general. Is it loud thing?
Yeah, so it's kind of neat that they basically you could vote, and if all the players vote yes, they turn the cheater into a frog, and the frog cheater stays a frog, hops around the map for the rest of the game as a frog, no abilities, no movement speed difference, just like you're just bouncing around like a little frog.
I mean, you know, it's cool, but like, just end the game. Maybe end the game and then just like, you know, enshrine them as a cheater for 10 seconds at the end of the game. Like right at the end, like, this is the person who ruined it. And everybody, like a bunch of fingers come out and start pointing at the guy. And like, that's his name. I don't know. That would actually be pretty cool. Like I ruined this game. Turned me to a frog and turned me like, I don't know. It's cool, but like end the game, because in a 5v5 game, you're talking about 4 other people who are negatively impacted. Right. And like, there's no reason to really stay in the game. And
unless they want to, then it's giving the players the choice on what to do with it. That's the important thing, because a lot of systems will just arbitrarily, it's out of my hands, it's out of my control. And yeah, we've talked about how like League and surrendering, it's out of your control because you're one vote out of 5. And like,
I thought right there, like if it's a 5-person game, 1 person gets turned into a frog. 3 people are like, yeah, let's stay in here and make him a frog the whole time. And 1 person's like, bro, I only can play like 6 games today. Can you cut it the fuck out and let me on to the next one? He cheated. Cool. Let's get out of here. I want to play the game. I don't want to actually like do this.
Like in that way too, stuck. I hope that the other person is able to then leave the game without losing any sort of SR.
Here's what they should do. I just thought of this. You ready for this? I interrupt you, but here's what I thought of it. Turn him to a frog. Everybody can quit the game except for that guy. Increase the time limit by 5, and then he gets reported for AFK under 2 minutes if he doesn't move. So he's got to move every little bit. So he's got to sit there and play the game. He's a prisoner. He's being punished, and everybody else can go play another game. They can quit out penalty free, and they get to go play another game. That would be phenomenal. You experience a cheater, go play something else. The cheater's staying with us. You're locked in.
I don't know at that point, if you're identifying a cheater, they're already putting like a ban or an account restriction on that person. I don't think it really accomplishes anything. I don't think you're cooking on that one, man. You're burning the food.
No, personal sentiment, dude. If you left the game after getting a cheater in your game and you knew damn well that guy's stuck in that game for the next 30 minutes, otherwise he can't play ever again.
No, man, like at that point, it's not really a punishment, because like they can just alt F4 and they're cheating, and they're probably, if they're cheating,
they come back to the game.
They're on a burner account. So like they're just going to like,
it pauses the time. You pause the time. Yeah, sure. And then they do it again and all their accounts get banned.
I don't think you're cooking, man. I think it's just
how many people do you think have multiple accounts?
We are so far off the topic, bro. And like, I want to try to bring us back into this. So like, yeah. Interesting to see what Valve mindset of doing this new pre-game match analytics thing. See if it's actually going to deter any sort of behavior, any sort of systems, and go from there. And going on. But right now, we're going to move forward. We're going to get into a couple of the other topics. Right now, we're going to be going into the Race to the World first, the grand finale. I'm going to be running over those details. Coming up a little bit later, we've got Pokemon Pocket. The soft launch happened this past week. We're going to tell you what happened, who was playing, and some of the meta going on. And then we're going to wrap this up at the end of the show with League of Legends pick'ems. Do a little update on the plans, give you some scores, some highlights, and then our pick'ems for the week. But right now, like I said, we're going to be going into Race the World first. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, hit like, subscribe, follow. It really helps us out. It's free for you guys, and it lets the algorithm know that we want more people to see this. This is good material. I'm stumbling over my words as I'm saying this is good material, so you know that makes it real good. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Hit us up on at the Esports Meta anywhere on social media, and we'll keep in touch with you guys. But for now, Race the World first, grand finale, day 12, final boss gets downed by Team Liquid. Here is the full playlist. I'm going to skip ahead. Queen Ansarac, Nick, did you have a chance to watch some of this fight or all of this fight?
All of this fight. I also watched like the 130 polls previously. I was watching a lot of this.
When I asked all of this fight, I meant like the mechanics of this specific boss. Because there was over 400 polls for this boss. And then this day, I think they did 100 polls to get this down specifically. But it took 12 days to get to this point, and Team Liquid, through a clutch play in the end and a crazy amount of DPS in the first phase, ends up doing it. Liquid Max in the bottom left, excited. They already see they got less than 3%. It's already a guaranteed given. This was a crazy, crazy pull. The team elated, jumping around. for a boss that a lot of people believe was possibly not doable on this reset with this amount of gear score. It was done. Lots to talk about, specifically what happened, why, and how. And I want to start us off by kind of highlighting the phase 1 fight. So phase 1, they're on the platform, and 3 major things happen here. Queen Anserac, the boss, gets dragged around. She drops pools of acid on the floor that spread out. She drops webs on people that just also locks down the ground. You can't step in it. You get slowed down. You take damage. Then she also puts a debuff on a player that will put a pool on the ground, but it also knocks anybody up in there. And then the final mechanic she does in phase 1 are these waves of green slime that emanate out from, I believe, a player. So more or less, they have to bait some swirlies. They have to move the boss around, dodge these things. And this was the first part of Team Liquid's success. They were able to do this tight enough, but they were able to get the boss down, I think, 20% extra DPS in this section of fight. So here's the webs, there's the acid, there's the swirlies, but they were somehow able to put out 20% more damage than they were able to do in all 400 other pulls here. And that set them up for great success. I think they were 5 to 10% ahead of the timer of where they've been in previous pulls. And then finally, the thing I want to highlight is THD, a Warlock for Team Liquid, makes a god play in the 3rd phase, right as the boss going to go down. They're at 6%. You can kind of see it in the faded health bar here. And the mechanic goes out where you put a debuff on random players. Those players drop a shadow version of the boss, and then other players need to like grab it so it doesn't explode. Here we see a situation where the lock THD identifies it. Let me find it. There we go. They identify it, and then they pop all the way back. Here they go. They see it happen. They take it. They pull it over to the side, drop it, and then come back to the boss. And essentially, it saves the wipe at a 5%, because if he doesn't grab that, touch that at that point, it blows up and does massive damage to the entire raid. This was a huge clutch play at the end of the phase 3 that allowed them to finally kill the boss and get the official world first. Nick, I know I've been monologuing a little bit, talking about the background plays, the mechanics of this boss. You said you watched a bit of the fight. You said you watched this pull specifically. You saw the magic happen in real time. How was your impression of how Team Liquid pulled this off, and the takeaways from this race overall?
Dude, I was super excited, man. I wasn't like cheering or anything, because like I'm not like the most boisterous person when it comes to like esports like that or anything. But like I was pretty glued to it, man. I was watching this like 4 or 5 hours a night. Like I'm not even joking. Like most nights I was watching 4 or 5 hours. I've been watching and this is throughout the whole entire tier, right? Yeah. Like the whole raid tier. So like, and when this is going on, like dude, how do some of these things, like look at the ground when this thing starts getting like really into the thick of it. Like look at the ground, look at what everything's going like.
Yeah, dude. And like this isn't even like the full phase 3. This is like just getting into phase 3. They're still at like 20 something percent, 28% on the boss. So like they just got into phase 3, and then start, like you said, start looking at the ground and what they have to like dance around.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different like when you get in there, right? But not everybody's going to be doing this, right? There's only like 1,000 guilds that are going to get the achievement for Mythic before like maybe before it gets nerfed.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the numbers of how many people have even gotten to Queen Anserac, the final boss in the raid. But it is not a very, I don't want to say popular. I guess it's a very exclusive club of who can actually get here, who can understand the mechanics, do the dances. Because, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to get back to you in this second here about the other bosses, what you felt about the raid tier. But like when you said look at the ground, it instantly reminded me of another boss in this raid, the Nexus Princess, Kaiveza. And like literally her softened rage after a certain point in the map, like you literally have nowhere safe to stand on the ground. The entire floor is lava and you are going to die. So, you know, there's a lot to going on, a lot to keep track of while pushing all your buttons and doing the damage there. Nick, like I said, I was alluding to and getting to, how have you felt this overall raid tier has been? How do you feel like this race has been? Has it felt competitive to you? Has it felt exciting? You were excited for this. You were pretty hyped watching this for hours. How, you know, give me your thoughts and you know, overall, like the overall raid tier.
It didn't seem too competitive, but it like, and that just might be because like, you know, it turns out, you know, Liquid's going to kill the boss before they go to sleep. And when they go to sleep, the other guys wake up. So it really hasn't felt like too competitive overall. I don't know. That's like that. That's pretty much it. But you know, it's still been fun. It's still been great to watch like the overall raid tier. But like no shot, these guys are like right now they're having like a really good time, but like they're not having fun doing this, boss. Like they're not having any fun whatsoever. Like they're like so zoned in. They're keyed in, bro. Like.
I don't know, man. I was watching a lot of Team Liquid and like that, the vibe from this organization is different than other organizations because you hear, especially from Max's point of view, Max's live stream, you hear the Discord most of the time. You hear how they're having fun moving and going through and through poll. This one specifically, look at the counter in the bottom. We'll go over the specifics. 120 for the Brood. Can't remember the name. Ovi. 300 pulls for Kaiveza, Nexus Princess. 171 for Shadow Council. 403 for this last boss. It is a lot of time spent with these. I think the difference between boss 7 and boss 8 was like 4 days between the downing between the two. So you're spending a lot of time with that, of course. Like you're saying, you're right. Like they're going to be locked in. But I do feel like to keep morale up, these guys are able to joke and relax and have some fun while doing it too. I don't necessarily think that's the same sentiment from other guilds. I think it's a Team Liquid exclusive on that part specifically, man. You know,
yeah, you're probably right. You know, I wouldn't be. I'm looking at it like I wouldn't have fun doing this. Like that does not look fun whatsoever.
That's, you know, a good point because this is an endurance race. It's not for everybody, and like specifically, we can demonstrate that by kind of taking a look at, you know, who has done it currently. We are a couple days after the first kill of the boss. You know, the race is technically finished, but we still have people fighting for second, third, fourth place. Like you said, I believe 1,000 achievements go out to who can complete it. The Wall of Fame for this tier. Right now, only 3 have beaten the last boss. Team Liquid as the first, Team Echo as number 2, and Team Method in a strong third. They only completed it just yesterday. But this race was largely Team Liquid. You could see how they took everything from boss 3 on. They were able to complete it first. It was their show. And really for them to lose, Echo was never really able to get ahead where it counted. They'd have better pulls, but they'd never finish off the boss before Team Liquid could. So to your point of it not feeling competitive, I think that was largely what dominated it. Echo couldn't get that final killing blow before Team Liquid. And so Team Liquid had that edge every sleep rotation, every cycle of swap there.
Yeah. No, it's really rough for Echo to really like persevere through it, right? Because they have to do everything that they've already done, then beat the next boss, and then go to sleep. And even then, if they beat it that quickly, right, that means that Liquid's going to beat it that quickly. And then they both go to sleep, and maybe they're on even playing ground at that point. So, I don't know. Maybe it just needs to change a little bit, but it definitely didn't feel like it was like neck and neck or competitive.
I kind of disagree where it did feel neck and neck because it did seem like full count was around the same or like a little less, a little more, as well as best pull percentages. You kind of see this one-upmanship between the two guilds, Liquid and Echo, where it's like I got them to 20%, then you get the boss to 15%, and then I got them down to 12%, and then you get them down to 8%. I believe that did happen a lot, but Echo was definitely fighting uphill because they needed to overcome that like initial sort of gap. They, anytime you're in second place, you need to not just play as best as you can, you need to play as best as you can and better than the next person to make up that difference. And Team Liquid never took their foot off the gas on that. They never really gave up an inch on that, or enough to the point where Echo was able to capitalize, right? If we were running a foot race, I need to run it. If you were in first place and you were running fast, I don't need to run just as fast as you are. I need to run faster than you to overtake you. And I don't think that was something Echo could ever do. And taking a look at this final, tally here, let me zoom it into a different view. There we go. This is the final leaderboard, or at least the current leaderboard. Top down, Team Liquid, number 1, 8 of 8, beat Queen Answeract, and it took them 404 pulls. I think this is the second most pulls ever, but it's up there as far as I think the Jailer or Anduin was concerned, as well as Sylvanas Jailer fight is concerned. It is up there. Next, Team Echo, and you can see immediately the difference. It took them 449 pulls. They did get to the boss second, but they were able to do it with more time in their day, the final boss. So like some might say they had an advantage in that, whereas Liquid got to Queen Answeract at the end of the night and they went to sleep, and then, analysts did their stuff, and then the next day they came back fresh. But Echo, who knows if that's like a true advantage. Echo got more time in the day that when they got to that boss, but here it took them 449 tries to actually beat him. Team Method, number 3, just beating the final boss yesterday, 425 pulls. So right there, you can kind of already see maybe Echo had a harder time solving this boss. They had a harder time pushing through, etc. on it. And like, granted, big congrats to them. They did it. Second place, congratulations. Huge, because only 3 guilds have done it so far. And, how many will continue to do it before the nerf? We're seeing number 4 already on pull 533 for just the 7th boss, not even the 8th boss yet. It's wild. Like, there's a lot happening here. So big congratulations. We're talking the best of the best in this game, but like the difference here is like minuscule. It's fractions of percentage. It is 40 pulls out of 400. You might be muted there, Nick.
I am, because I'm coughing and yawning.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot, dude. Like, it's so much.
So in that way, man, it's a big race. I found this to be really exciting, a really exciting race overall. A lot going on. Is this the website that? I don't believe so. I also had, here we go, guild progress. There we go. So this is going to show you the overall guilds that have killed it, how many times they've killed these bosses in the mythic difficulty, and then, who's got there first, etc. We already know Team Liquid has pretty much dominated first place for, 6 out of the 8 bosses. But let's take a look at the total kills. The first boss in the raid has been killed 2,275 times. Second boss, only 1,800 times. It's gone down, expected. Third boss, 1,400 times. Fourth boss, 958. A huge drop in numbers from 3 to 4 right there. And then from there, we're seeing barely double digits in some of these bosses. Brood Twister Ovanex, only 75 bosses have completed that. Sorry, guilds have completed that boss. Going from 2,200, almost 2,300, you're down to 74 that have gotten that far. 5th boss. And then, more astoundingly, 6th boss, Next is Princess. This is the one that everyone got stuck on earlier in the race, that they weren't sure if you could do it in that reset with that amount of gear. Liquid did it. Echo did it. It's the one where the floor just completely turns into death at one point in the match, at one point in the fight. Only 11 guilds have completed that boss so far. Going from just the numbers we have, at least, of who's attempting it, who's a competitor in this, 2,300 down to 11. Those are crazy numbers. And then, of course, the last two bosses, you're down to 9, and then you're down to 3. This is an astounding feat of esports. An astounding event for the difficulty there and people realizing how difficult it is, what's going on, the coordination you need on a massive scale, the persistent marathon aspect of this. It is a very impressive feat. So big congratulations to these guilds making it, getting these kills, etc. Nick, we're talking about the kill numbers here, the bosses here. You've watched the fights overall too. Was there a takeaway from the compositions or the bosses otherwise you'd want to highlight perhaps?
No, like in this raid tier, it felt like there was, I don't want to say it was like balanced, right? Because I'm not going to be like the expert on like if this raid tier is like actually balanced for raid composition. That would be something like literally Max will make a video on, right? But it did feel like there were a lot more pieces that had to be moved around in order to fit certain scenarios in. Like certain like classes had to go out. You bring a Moonkin in, then you got a Ret Paladin. Like so, it felt like there was a lot more. I don't want to say a lot more, but like it felt like there was a lot more. It felt like there was more decision making around like the strategy of making the actual comp itself work. And like everything that you need, what you can get out of it, how much damage you can bring with it, stuff like that.
Absolutely. The comp, that's a great point to make and like a good reminder because I believe they've used just about every spec sans like 4 out of all the different classes and all the different specs. I think 4 or 5 were the ones not using. Even Shadow Priest, they've been memed on as being a joke in this expansion. Oh, not expansion, but I guess this raid tier. Like not worth bringing, gonna die easy, not doing enough damage. They ended up bringing it and it was something that helped solve the problem. I think it was on Silken Court, so like that's an excellent point to make, an observation, just analysis of like the composition where they have had a huge diversity of specs and classes and like they're shifting it. They're pulling some specs from one boss and putting other specs into another boss to solve the problem, which is great to see. And like, yeah, I think you might call that balance, but we'll leave that to the experts to say specifically. All right. I do have a little bit more to go over here. Yes. All right. And speaking of the comps and specs, I want to just like, as we wrap up our coverage of the Race of the World first, I wanted to highlight the damage and the damage classes and how that's looked, because we've been on this all the last 2 weeks for about this all race. And we've seen a lot change in just these 2 weeks of the Mythic raid being live. The first thing to notice here is that the bottom of the DPS meters here, Demonology Warlock is now at the bottom, followed by Augmentation Evoker. People have talked about Aug Evoker being a lot weaker, a little bit surprising, seeing how well they did in Dragonflight in the previous raids. Their specific damage isn't necessarily quantified because they boost other people's, but we saw a lot less augmentation evokers being brought into the raid because it wasn't necessarily providing enough value to, it wasn't providing enough value to other classes and DPS specs. Demonology Warlock is kind of surprising to me, but we'll talk about that. But even here, Frost Mage, Fire Mage, they were at the bottom. Look where they are now, Nick. We're talking middle of the pack for Frost Mage, number 4.
What is Fire Mage doing? That's
Fire
crazy.
Mage.
What is it? Because they just did the patch though, right? I'm not muted.
All right, what was that, Nick?
I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. My speakers cut out for a second. My headphones cut out. So what's that?
I was gonna say that is this due to the patch?
I don't think it's due to the patch because there hasn't been a major patch right yet. They haven't changed a lot of the big things, especially for Fire Mage. And maybe it's specifically to the fights. Maybe it's gear. Maybe they were able to gear up. Today's the second reset of this situation, of this raid tier. So maybe it's just more of a gear thing, like we were talking about, and they were able to switch it quick. But maybe it's also the fights. They brought Fire Mage into the last 2 bosses or 3 bosses, and it's made the huge difference.
They're just out here just pumping crits.
Yeah, dude.
Spicy. Something's going on here.
Absolutely. But let's take a look at the top of the range here. Arcane Mage is something we've expected. They're more dominant at the top than where they were previously, scoring 115. Frost DKs pushed up, as the next highest, not too far behind in that way. Third place, Enhancement Shamans right there. The big thing I want to note is that Fury Warrior is now down in middle of the pack, less than middle of the pack, which was kind of unexpected. But this is the overall DPS for the entire raid. So let's take a look at specific bosses where we can. Well, let's go to the first boss, which was something new. And we're seeing more people do this raid tier, and we're seeing more people in classes. DKs are dominating this first boss pretty heavy-handedly, followed by Arcane Mage and some Demon Hunter stuff, which makes sense, the cleave and the single target phases. Let's move into a purely single target boss fight. BM Hunter on top. This is something we saw consistently previously. It hasn't changed. Fury Warrior has been bumped down, demoted to the bottom. And it might be also because of the sample size getting larger here in this data set. I want to move into a Rashanon, which is the 4th boss of this raid. And it was a big mobility fight. A lot of floor being covered in goo and poison. But it is another ad fight plus boss fight situation. Arcane Mage on the top of this leader, but we're seeing Marksman Hunter towards the top. Rhett, I think overall, even Fire Mage, Frost Mage on this, but overall, Nick, I think this kind of alludes to your point that you're saying. We're seeing a lot of representation from a lot of different specs, a lot of different classes being shown on these DPS meters, where traditionally, or a lot of times in other raids, you see one single meta for every single boss.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, seeing the top switch so much recently has been like, it's a pretty good feeling for a lot of these players.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Wait, I'm just trying to switch back into my headset here. Mic check 1 2. Nick, can you give me a little 1 2?
1 2.
All right, not working. I'm not going to fight it right now. Going back, but yeah, I want to take a look at the last couple bosses here. Let's look at Princess Kaiveza. This is Nexus Princess. This is a boss that only, 9 or 11? I think it was 11 guilds have completed, and they're not showing that much
no stats
at all for this boss. Let's take a Silken Court. Same situation. Not enough data to complete this. And Queen Answer Act. Transcendings. Yeah. Overall, no data on that stuff. We're not really going to get information. Let's take Brute Twister. Brute Twister's the last boss we're seeing here. This was an ad-heavy fight with Frost DK, Unholy DK at the top. Dominant Fury Warrior bumped down. I do want to say it's going to be alluded that Frost DKs are probably going to get a little bit of a nerf this coming cycle. Next situation. Almost definitely.
Oh, we'll see.
Right, but they're performing well in AoE, but they're not really performing as well in single target, which something that we saw Fury Warriors doing previously. Yeah, here they're a single target boss. They're in the middle of the pack. But anyway, I think that kind of wraps up our coverage for Race the World first. Any takeaways, final thoughts with the DPS and specs and how that's looking, Nick? or can we move into just a little bit of a news for WoW?
We can move on in.
All right. Well, we're going to move on over into the Arena World Championships. That's the next big WoW thing coming up. They have this nice sizzle reel trailer coming in and get the right aspect. And let's play this trailer. But more or less, we're expecting the Arena World Championships to kick off, and we're going to tell you how to watch it in just a second. This is going to be a nice sizzle reel showing, the competition in World PvP happening. We're jazzed up, hyped up for the competition coming to the arenas. Let's wrap it out. The disappointing part is they're not even giving a date, but we've got you covered right here. Arena World Championships Viewers Guide from blog post. They're going to tell you, all the information's happening. It's going to be happening over the course of a couple weeks. It actually just kicked off this past week, and then the next part's happening right now. We still have 2 more phases after this week to take a look from. Top teams, bottom teams getting sorted out currently in a group stage per se. And then they're going to compete in November for the top spot and winning $300,000. You can watch all the different stages leading up to the grand finals on Twitch and YouTube as demonstrated here. We are in AWC Cup 2. So basically, essentially week 2 of the Cup, starting later this week. Then we have 2 more stages the next couple weekends kicking off, and then wrapping us up. We're kicking those off over the next 2 weeks, and then we're gonna wrap up the grand finals November 15th. I think, is that around BlizzCon, Nick? Usually this happens around then, but we'll take a look and check on that one for you. The prize pool for this is going to be grand totaling $400,000. I believe first place is going to be hitting that 200 grand specifically, but we'll keep you posted and cover this a little bit closer to the grand finals. Nick, did you confirm or no? Okay. Not a problem. That's just a quick announcement we wanted to leave off for WoW stuff. Blizzard, World of Warcraft content for now. We'll be coming back to it in just a little while, but we've got more topics to cover and get through here. All right. The next subject matter, we're going to, after that quick pause, that silent treatment we gave you, the next subject matter is going to be Pokemon Pocket. We had their soft launch this past week where a lot of players moved to New Zealand and started playing the game. The card game unofficially launched in New Zealand, I should say, and players from the region could download the game and start checking out the overall meta vibe and feel. I'm not going to speak from my personal experience. I'm going to speak from a friend. Basically, my information on this is that the game feels really solid. The packs have been really nice to free to play, but they do also have that FOMO component where it's like you do want to keep buying and buying. They've talked about here the 2 packs a day. We're trying to limit any sort of crazy spend, etc. But not the worst, not too egregious, not too battle passy in that. There is a battle system. The battle games have felt very fluid, very intuitive to people who've played the card game before, but it has the slimmed down version, the slimmed down flair. So we're starting to see the meta pan out overall on that. Nick, have you gotten to see any videos, any streamers, any sort of hands-on experience happen with this game yet?
No, I haven't really looked at it, because the only thing is just the game cut in half, right? So it's just looking at the art and stuff like that for me.
As
I
far
haven't
as
checked it
prize
out
pools
until-
go, yeah, it's 3 points versus the 6 points.
Yeah, so like I haven't like checked it out to see how the apps work, and that's the only thing that like I think about. Like
Gotcha.
how intuitive the app is, like how nice it is for new people who don't use TCG apps like that. You know, and what the deck builder looks like. The other deck builder is pretty good, so I assume it'll be the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, overall, from my experience, to sort of your question, like here's a gameplay of a specific deck, Starmie deck. The deck builder, this is what we're kind of looking at right now. It's pretty fluid. It's pretty fluid and fluent in what you want to do. You can customize certain things. You pick out cards. You get a max of 2 cards, 2 of each individual card you can put in, up to 20 cards in a deck. You edit the deck, you plus minus it to just add and remove. So it's really smooth, really intuitive that way. Overall, pretty solid looking game. Here are the streamers going into a battle mode, Nick. So I'm going to speed this up so we can take a look, but let me know if you want it a little bit slower so we can see what plays he's making going on. This is a Starmie EX deck. I believe it's using Misty as a cornerstone, and the Misty card, I believe, gives water type Pokemon extra energy based on how many heads they spin, how many head coin flips they make in a row. So generally speaking, it's the same format. Game opens up here. You put out your basic Pokemon on the map. If you don't have any Pokemon on your bench,
the whole thing is shrunk. There we go. That's the other difference. The whole thing is shrunk. Your bench is shrunk. Interesting.
Precisely. Three Pokemon bench, 3-point game, first to 3. The competitive aspect, you have a 20-minute time limit. There's some specific time limits to play your hand on each turn or make a decision on cards. And generally speaking, yeah, you can see how like a meta is starting to form out. They're using Starmie EX deck, so they're going to basically try to get out that Starmie they have there as quick as possible. I think the play here currently is they're going to take that Krabby, evolve it to a Kingler. They do have a little bit of type disadvantage for certain Pokemon, but most of it's not on this matchup. And like you do kind of have to worry about it in this one because each Pokemon matters more. It means more because you're only playing to 3. EX Pokemon are worth 2 points, and every other Pokemon is worth 1 point.
Yeah, I got nothing for it. Yeah.
Not a problem, man. Just kind of taking a look at the general gameplay here, because it is a game that I think is going to make a lot of waves when it comes to Pokemon. It is going to cause a lot of attention to be grabbed, and we're going to start seeing a lot of people join. You can have I think you're going to see the diehard fans of Pokemon and Pokemon TCG, but I think you're going to get the collectors starting their digital collection on this because it is very art focused. It is very like collector focused in that sort of way, but in that same aspect, these competitive games they're simpler. They're easier to get in. They're more entry level, but like that doesn't diminish their skill ceiling. People are going to be able to do a lot of cool things, look at a lot of fun ways, and make stuff happen pretty awesomely overall. And like I wanted to show this because it is a quicker story, but this is the thing that came out this week, and we kind of didn't expect it to come out this week. So this soft launch, they're Kingler knocking out from 2 coin flips. They're able to do 160 damage and knock out that Pokemon from them coin flips. So bit of a high risk, high reward Pokemon. And
yeah, my thoughts are like, does this just change the meta? Like the cards are the same, but like, is it changing the meta?
Absolutely. I would think absolutely, like, because you've got less points to play with.
So, I mean, so I didn't know that like the bench was like, I was like, all right, three prizes, whatever, right? That's half the prizes. It's faster to win the game. The game is overall like actually different with like the bench being 3. And different aspects and stuff like that, right? So I I will strongly say that any given time that you have a massive discrepancy between paper and your online format is not good. The players don't like it. It never works out well for, like, there's weird stuff and some people might like it, but you shouldn't really have a separation. So hopefully it's not changing the meta, because you wouldn't want like the world championship to not be in this game, right? Like the world championship decks won't be in this game.
Well, that's where I think, actually, here's a good question for you or any of the viewers that are watching. Give me your thoughts on this. This game is going to have 3 bench, first to 3, is sort of a slimmed down version of the traditional TCG. Because it's a slimmed down version, and you could go to Pokemon Live app, which would be the full version of Pokemon card game. Does it matter that it's a different meta, or is it like a nice, like adjacent sort of competition competitiveness aspect to it?
I mean, personally speaking, from like Magic, no, it puts me off. I don't want to learn cards that I don't want to waste brain space on stuff that doesn't matter. Like, as far as like the cards are concerned. So like if you're trying to learn the meta and the metas are different, like the people who play paper are most likely not going to play this.
Interesting. You know, we'll see how that sort of pans out. I think another point that might be valid and valuable in this is that currently they do not have plans for a ranked ladder in this game. They do not have plans to bring this version of TCG to Worlds. So it's kind of this isolated system. They don't have trading yet. They're expecting trading to come after the hard release at the end of October. But currently in soft release, you can matchmake with randoms on the internet, send friend requests. You can play matches against friends in person, or you can play matches against bots. So the competitive aspect is still pretty casual by those metrics. And I wonder then how much does that inform, you know, their plans. It does definitely discusses and advises, you know, their mindset on an approach of this slimmed down format. But then how much does it impact the overall, like you're saying, the traditional TCG players for Pokemon?
Yeah, you know, it's just an interesting thing.
All right. Well, a lot of questions to be answered. The soft launch happened this week overall. I believe if you wanted to play, there is going to be some information out there. You could VPN into New Zealand and download. I believe you might need to grab an APK to do that, the download file, and not download it directly from the stores. I believe that's how a lot of players are currently doing that. You know, or you could traditionally just fly over there, download the game, but you know, that might be a little bit harder to stay in there for the next month if you're that committed. Either way, let us know your thoughts if you've gotten your hands on Pokemon Pocket just yet. If you're excited for this game getting in the hard release, the official release date. If you think it's going to make a big difference from the meta standpoint, like Nick was saying, the traditional TCG meta, is that going to make a big impact and difference to this? But a lot of questions to be answered right now, and we're looking forward to walking through this and seeing how it develops throughout every step. All right, Nick, we're in the home stretch here. We've got one last topic to discuss, and I hope, you know, we can jazz you up a little bit, get you ready, get you sauced up for some pizza after this. But final topic, we're going to be going into League of Legends. We're going to be talking about the play-ins this past weekend and just going over some scores. So I'm going to hop right into it. Nick, if you can like lead us through this real quick, just to kind of show what we have on the screen, the score lines. What disappointed you? You mentioned earlier, or what excited you? Can I start there? Get you hyped up.
100 Thieves. Come on now.
Come on now.
Just come on now. Just come on now. That was like the biggest disappointing thing. I would have liked R7 to actually make it. I was like, there was a couple games, I won't say matches were like amazing. I'll say there were certain games that were definitely like things to like talk about. Like some of the R7 games were awesome to watch. And then, other ones weren't, right? Same thing with like when they faced 100 Thieves specifically. Mad Lions was pretty awesome to like look at. They did some things early. It shows that they're learning. So they were like a really bright side of the play-in stages.
Great.
Overall, like not really a disappointment, but would have really liked to see I don't know, maybe like best of fives. I felt like there's just, especially since some of these teams aren't going to be playing anymore at Worlds, I would like to see a little bit more games from them, but also like, could have changed who gets to go in. Like I think the beginning and the end seems like the most important right there, but
Absolutely. And you're just taking a look at the scores here. Mad Lions kind of showing some dominance off the bat, but not really being able to do much after those initial. And then we've got, R7 over 100 Thieves. There we go. And like 100 Thieves then kind of bouncing back, but getting beat out by PSG Talon. Generally speaking. Out of the 3 rounds, we kind of saw, this is what we've seen. I don't really have a lot to contribute to this point other than these score lines currently, but it does feel like, there's a lot of 2-0s here, really. Like, and like it's a best of 5. So first to 3 is really, but we're not seeing any 3-2s. No, I'm sorry. It's a best of 3. My bad. It's a best of 3. And we're not really seeing a lot of 2-1s. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's more 2-0 kind of games happening here, which I can't imagine being like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say super competitive, but like the stat lines don't feel great for that.
It really doesn't. Like it really does not feel good.
All right.
Well, like it's basically like it's just look forward to everything else. Little things that change, but I do think they should have been best of 5s. Just in general, it looked more complicated. The bracket itself looked way more complicated earlier on.
Yeah.
When people were like looking at it, but basically it was just like you go until you have 2 losses or 2 wins, and that's why it looks all jumbled and weird like that.
Yeah, that might be something they could format a little bit better next time. But, moving forward, looking at what's happening next is the Swiss stage here. We have the officiality of it. 2 days, we're getting the first games for the Swiss stage.
Yeah.
Overall, taking a look at who's playing for these, it's Hanwha Life Esports versus PSG. FlyQuest is taking on GAM Esports, GAM Esports, G2 going with Pain, Billy taking on Mad Lions. Top Esports and T1 are facing off. Team Liquid Honda going against LNG 9bot, Fnatic D plus Kia, Gen G taking on Weibo Gaming, Tap. All right. I know we're going to be doing predictions in just a second, but with these initial group stage games, Nick, which one stands out to you? What are you hoping for? What are you excited to watch? And why is it FlyQuest?
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
I know it's not.
No hate, but Hanwha Life needs to buy gifts for PSG Talon, and I also feel the exact same way for Billy Gaming. They need to buy gifts for a Mad Lion. It's literally gonna be a struggle for these guys to wake up in the morning, to get out of the bed, to literally go to the stadium, to sit in the chair, put the headset on, to actually talk about like, so what are we gonna do to win, guys? It's brutal.
Yeah, are you saying that like as far as like the underdogs of Mad Lions, etc., Pain Gaming?
Yeah, it's not going to look good. I mean, they might look good. Here's hoping they show up, but these are stomps. Like these are expected to be some stomps.
All right,
and it's not going to be good for us.
If you could pick one team that is going to be like a underdog kind of Cinderella story right now with this, would you pick any of these teams?
Yeah, GAM Esports is probably going to clap FlyQuest.
Interesting.
I said it before, dude. Gaming Esports comes out of nowhere. Just like every time you see him at Worlds, you're just like, what are these guys gonna do? What are these characters doing?
Yeah, and FlyQuest has had a habit of like up and down through this season, but like they've pushed through towards the end of a tournament, end of a bracket. This is the beginning of the bracket. Let's see, if they show up, if they woke up. It's been a couple weeks since they played, so that I think has a really ripe picking for an upset in that way, just statistically at least. But if you have any other sort of contributions for it, I'd like to hear it. Otherwise, I'd like to get us into the pick'ems.
No, we're good.
Okay,
let's go to the pick'ems.
We're going to go to the pick'ems, but specifically, I do have a little bit of bragging to do because with the pick'ems, and like, tell me if I'm reading this wrong, but I believe I'm S tier in these pick'ems, Nick. Top 5%.
There you go, bro. I'm glad we could do it as a hand holding exercise.
You hear it, chat? You hear that, viewer, listeners? We made it. We're S tier in League of Legends pick'ems. First time doing it. Leaderboard locked. Top 5%. Let's go.
All right, so let's scroll down and let's see what was the real reason for it.
No need for scrolling down. We don't need to dive
into
into this.
The stream, then we're good. I'm gonna go eat pizza.
All right. Yeah, taking a look at the specifically, there's been 16,000 perfect picks, 21,000 perfectly imperfect picks. I'm not sure what that means. I think it generally just means that
means zeros.
They didn't get it right?
It means zeros. Perfectly imperfect.
Okay.
So they have gotten nothing right.
Hey, we're doing better than those guys. And like overall, we've got 30 points so far from what's been able to be, doable, deemable. And like the top of the top has been 40 points. So not shabby at all. Let's take a look at the actual specific picks for this week. And let's kind of go in there. All right. Choose 8 teams to advance out of the Swiss round. Swiss picks will not be saved until step 2 is complete. Okay, that's fine. So right now we get to pick 8 teams. Who's going to win out of that? I think this is going to be pretty simple, pretty easy. Let's start with a T1. Let's start with where are they? Gen G?
Yeah.
There we go. Billy's probably going to get out of this pretty easily. I think. G2 I think is going to be a strong suit. Looking at our North America teams for my side, FlyQuest and Team Liquid. I'm leaning more Team Liquid making some stuff happen, but I want to hope. I want to believe we're going to see some North America in this tournament. Nick,
sure, pick a dream. In America, we are about dreams. We're about hope. Okay.
But we're risking my top 5% here. All right, we got to stay on the top. So I'm going to solidify Team Liquid here. Which teams do you see in this also pushing through? Is a PSG coming out of this? Is a DK coming out of this?
Dude, picking 8 teams on this list is kind of ridiculous. We had
all right,
4. So hold on.
We had 4 pretty simply, and like this is all the teams. Right. So I think Team Liquid feels pretty solid. Genji definitely is a solid pick. T1, G2, Billy Gaming. I think they're all solid. It's this next part where it feels a little bit. Do we go with the upset with like GAM Esports, like you're saying, over FlyQuest? Do we go with like, something that's a little bit more expected, like a Fnatic even, who can perform well in these high pressure situations?
So like, this is the thing. It's going to be the exact same thing, right? So like they have to lose twice or they have to win twice in order to not face people.
Right.
Basically, or go like 2-1, like 1-0, 2-0, and then 2-1. Right? Yeah. And then just the 2-2. So like you have to go 2-1 for the most part, right?
All right. So actually real quick, let's list off the other. If Nick, I'm not totally familiar with the abbreviations, but like, could you read through these teams at the top here and then like
let's see. All right, so HLE for like Hanwha Life.
Okay.
I mean, you like Gen G, BLG, like BLG's called BLG. You can like Test Gaming,
Billy Gaming, Test Gaming.
Yeah, Weeaboo Gaming, LNG, Fnatic, FlyQuest. Damn, I can't talk. Mad Lions, PNG, Team Liquid. How many picks did you pick already?
I have 5 picks currently. 5 of 8.
Like, this is the thing. Like LNG, Weibo Gaming could be like solid picks. Fnatic can come out of nowhere, even though like I talk about disdain towards them all the time.
I'm going to pull the trigger on Fnatic right now because I feel like that's something we are going to see, push through at least the Swiss round here. And that's really what we're concerned about.
Yeah. Like Weibo Gaming would be another good one. I don't think PSG is going to make it through. Like, that would be pretty crazy. G2 can make it through. That would be interesting. Mad Lions could possibly make it through. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So the 7 that I have picked currently: Gen.G, BLG Gaming, Billy Gaming, Weibo Gaming, G2, Team Liquid, Fnatic, and T1. I have one more pick, and like I feel like Tess might be the pick here.
That's crazy.
I mean, otherwise,
so it's not like
you think it's going to be like an LNG or a FlyQuest, or do you think like an underdog like the Lions are gonna?
No, I mean, like, this is. So it really just depends on like who wins or loses like the first ones.
Absolutely, that's what we're trying to predict.
I would think so. Like, so the hope ones are like T1 and TL, right? If you start with a T, you're probably a hope pick. Same thing with T and Tess, right? Like that's the thing, right? Weibo Gaming's probably a no. Like Gen.G, Hamon Life, Billy Gaming, G2, TL, T1, LNG, and
what about DK here? They're from the LCK. That's generally a stronger league.
Nah.
I'm not sure who they're matching up against right now.
Hell nah.
That's a hell nah?
That's a hell nah for D+.
They are playing Fnatic, so...
No, I mean, like, they have Showmaker, but, like... I don't know. Showmaker's not, like, not being, like, too crazy. If we're talking LCK, Covey has the mid lane by Gen.G anyway, so, like, it's just nah. It's a nah.
All right, man. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna go with like this is gonna be my wild card.
Better be on there, bro. That's crazy. Humble Life not being on there is crazy. Like, that's crazy, man.
Let's take a look real quick on that. They're going up with PSG. All right, so I'll take that as my 8th pick currently. I think that's pretty solid. As an overall, I believe that's 8. Yeah, I can't pick anymore. I'm going to hit that continue.
If any of those ones that I would change would be like Fnatic and Weibo Gaming. That's it, man. Those 2 picks might be cheeks.
So hitting continue and getting into the next round of pick'ems. Choose one team to finish Swiss undefeated. I think that's kind of easy. I think that's a Gen.G.
Yeah, sure.
No contention, no like, hey, but maybe T1's got the juice on this one, or G2's going to make the magic happen. No, dude. Gen.G, I've been saying this. Gen.G's strong as fuck, dude. All right, easy pick. Submit. There we go. All right, man. So there's my pick'ems
8 teams to advance.
Yeah, I got 8 teams to advance, 1 team to finish undefeated. Thanks for joining me on my pick'ems, Nick. How are you doing on yours? Because this has been specifically for mine. Are you top 5%? Go back to the other ones. I haven't even checked mine, dude. I haven't even checked the results. Go to your pick'ems for the first play-ins, so you can see what what I got right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, look at that. Like 100 Thieves now. Yeah, 100 Thieves was my only disappointing pick, but that was the NA dream. That was the NA hope there. Yeah, 30 out of 40. Bro, come on. That was the dream pick, right? See? Absolutely. What about the crystal ball? Where are we looking on this crystal ball? I don't think anything is no, it shows us. Look, see in the picture? What picture? Oh, no, that was damn. I thought they actually updated to say like which one is the current one. Oh, yeah, no. So I don't think the crystal ball picks finish until the end of the tournament because it's a lot of prop bets, like with hero win rates or like 3-0s or like players like dominating.
Someone's got a tracker.
Yeah.
Who's got the tracker? Tracking spreadsheet. Thank the Lord. This is why. See, this is what I'm saying.
League of Legends players love their spreadsheets. That's for sure.
Oh, that's cute. It's called League and Park.
Just in time for the World Championship official song.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, check your.
Here we go, dude. I got them all. Infernal has actually been the most killed. Cloud is number 3rd. Let's go.
As far as champions.
Yeah, no. Go to the crystal ball real quick. Let's see what the first one is. The longest duration at Worlds, right? 50 to 54 minutes. Let's see where we're rocking right here. Fastest win. Longest game is 45 minutes and 16 seconds so far.
Okay.
All right. Fastest game is, what's the next one?
How many pentakills?
All right. Pentakills. Let's go. Let me see. Any more pentakills? My pentakill babies? No pentakills so far. That's what I thought.
All right. Which Drake will be killed the most? We have Cloud.
It's Infernal.
Infernal's been killed so most. Okay.
Yeah, but only by 2. So Cloud is tied for 2nd.
Okay.
With 19. Infernal is at 21.
We're still in it. All right. How many Baron steals will there be at Worlds?
All right. Let's see. Baron steals. There have been 0 so far.
All right, we were rooting for 3 to 5. There's a lot to go, and you also we talked about this last week. You kind of expected to not really be a lot in the early rounds of this. We'd probably see it more in this Swiss stage when you have the better teams playing off against the less.
That's
good
disrespectful.
teams.
I was just going to say the Warriors.
Sure, but those were your words last week, my dude.
All right, let's go. Relax.
How
dude.
many reverse sweeps so far? We have 0. And I believe there's been 0.
Let's see. Yeah, there's been 0, obviously.
All right. Then going into the champions, who will be the most played? Who will be played in the most different roles? I apologize. We had Yone.
But the other pick that I was talking about is tied for first. It's Poppy. So it's Aurora, Lucian, Poppy, and Renekton.
Who will be picked most? Yeah, we had Ari.
Yeah, no, it's not Ari. It's Jin, Cassante, Rel. There's another one that I was saying, like Cassante's such a safe pick that they just fall back on it. Wukong is pretty high, but also I was talking about J4.
Yeah. Who will be banned the most? We had J4.
So these are where my thing should have been opposite, right? So at most banned, Yone is number 2. Garner is number 1.
Interesting. So far, with who has the most deaths, we had Yone, but I don't think that's going to be accurate.
Yeah, no, it's Rel, the support, with 44.
All right, Rel with 44 deaths. Wow.
Yeah.
That feels like a lot.
And here's where J4 took over my Yone picks. Right, because Yone has the highest win rate. That's
crazy.
But those ones are all subject to change, right? Because there's so much based on like players,
right? And
what else we got?
It's also based on like maps played, right? Like, so like we're gonna see a lot more maps being played in the upcoming rounds than we are in the first play-ins. Next up, for players, who will play the most different champions at Worlds. I think this is kind of a moot point because we only seen half the teams play so far.
Well, I can tell you right now that if anybody put anybody from 100 Thieves on it, they're eliminated off of this.
Oh, I hope nobody did, because that wasn't a great pick. So
yeah, who we picked? Like, look at all the people I picked. We picked.
Yeah. GG.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to play yet. So.
Yeah. Teams. All right. Which team from a region with 2 seeds or less will advance? We put GAM Esports. GAM did advance. So we're rooting for them to push through. But honestly, it kind of contradicts the pick I made. I didn't have GAM on there. So we'll see how that goes.
There you go.
Which team will win the shortest game? We have Billy. Just kind of throwing it out there. Which team will have the most Baron steals? G2. Which team will win? Gen G. Which team will play the most different champions? Gen G. We haven't even seen Gen G play, so, any sort of news on who's played the most champions so far in the previous?
Yeah. The top 4 people are from 100 Thieves.
And that's
so does that tell you anything? Does that tell you anything?
That you shouldn't play a lot of different champions?
No, that's not it. Bro, they sat there and cooked for too long. They sat there and talked about it for too long. And like 100%. Like, what if they do this? Well, if they did this, we should just do this. Like, you should just raw dog the whole entire scene. But anyway, I'm top 5%. Thank you very much. We'll see how it continues next week. We've got a lot of esports and fun esports looking forward to this week. I'll be watching a bit more of the, Arena World Championships coming up. More League of Legends coming up. Overwatch Stage 4. We're getting into the meaty part where, group stages are finalizing and the main bracket's going to pick up very shortly. Nick, what are you expected to watch this week as we wrap up this episode? I'm going to watch nothing. No, now that the race for world first, I'm going to be watching some arena. And then I'm just going to be watching whatever. Let me look at my thingamajig. What's up next? Right. So like the third is like is all of these games. Yeah. Like the third is going to be crazy. Absolutely crazy. These are only a best of one. So like the third is nuts, dude.
Yeah. Just bringing us into that. Just like this Thursday, when we're watching October 3rd, so many games happening in a short period of time. Can I get a schedule? I hear
the thing that I do like about this is that you don't know who you're facing next.
Yeah.
Like normally you're like, all right, I have one of 2 options for the most part, but like.
And it's going to be pretty rapid fire succession on this. Like basically winners bracket up top, losers bracket in bottom, 0-1, 1-0. And that's the next day, the 4th and the 5th. Break it down into 4 different categories and then etc. So like it's going to be a pretty intense 4 days starting this weekend for League of Legends. And these teams have a bit of a gauntlet in front of them for this Swiss bracket.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, man. Definitely excited to look forward to. Definitely excited to watch. Keep me posted on the scores. We'll keep you posted to watch. Thanks for joining us. This has been the Esports Meta. You can watch us here every Tuesday on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Wherever there's live streaming, we do it there. We also, if live streaming is not your vibe, social media is where you're at. Check us out at the Esports Meta on all your favorite social media platforms. We even do threads, so check us out there. It's been a pleasure being live doing this episode with you, Nick. Rocking the red t-shirts, man. But I do think it's pizza time. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining me today, Nick. It was a pleasure talking to you about games and esports. And we'll see you next time. We'll catch you out there. So, see you later.